So anyone driving an EV thinking what a great job they're doing needs to think again. Ambulances are usually changed every 5 years, and at about £150,000 per vehicle, the new EV version would need to be on the road for over 15 to make it commercially viable. So why should the public pay for this? In my view, it's commercially irresponsible and putting our lives at risk for the sake of an ever-questioning green agenda, which will bankrupt the country and is not in the best interest of the patients.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, every Sunday at 9:30 when I'll be interviewing the key players in British politics and taking them to task.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial.
With an upcoming election looming over Westminster, now is the time for clear, honest answers.
I agree.
And that's precisely what I'll get.
Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's election channel.
It's 11 o'clock, you're with GB News, and in a moment it's headliners. But first, let's bring you the very latest news headlines. And the Deputy Prime Minister has been speaking in the House of Commons today and accusing China of being responsible for a malicious cyber campaign targeting the Electoral Commission. Databases containing the names and addresses of 40 million registered voters were visible to Chinese hackers in 2021 and 2022, but the government said it didn't affect the outcome of the local elections at the time. The government also said that national cyber security support will help make political parties make sure they're protected from foreign influence in the run-up to the general election. The Israeli Prime Minister has cancelled his planned visit to the White House in Washington this week after the US's decision not to block a UN ceasefire vote on Gaza. The UN Security Council passed a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza for the rest of Ramadan. The US abstained from the vote, with 14 other council members, including Russia, China and the UK, voting in favour. After the vote, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu cancelled his planned visit to Washington, saying the US had withdrawn from its consistent position. And in the United States, Donald Trump will go on trial next month, the first ever criminal trial of a former or current US president. Separately, he scored a significant victory today after an appeals court judge granted him an extension to pay a fine in 10 days' time, also reducing his liability for that fine from £360 million to £140 million. It also means the state of New York can't now seize his assets in a fraud case, during which he's been accused of inflating his own net worth. Here, protest groups Save British Farming and Fairness for Farmers of Kent have driven their tractors into central London tonight to protest about what they're calling substandard imports and the dishonest labelling of food. They also protested against low-cost agricultural imports, saying it all amounts to a threat to food security. It comes after Europe's farmers ramped up demonstrations across the continent, protesting against EU and national measures in their own countries. The CEO of Boeing is to step down by the end of the year in a major management shake-up following a raft of aircraft safety concerns. Dave Calhoun and other senior executives will step down after a series of scandals to hit Boeing, including the apparent suicide of a whistleblower who'd reportedly raised concerns about the country's production issues. The company's been under particular pressure to do something following the sudden blowout of an aircraft fuselage at 16,000 feet concerning an Alaska Airlines Boeing 737 MAX in January. Here at home, Sarah, Duchess of York, says she's full of admiration for the Princess of Wales after her cancer announcement. Posting on social media today, the Duchess said she hopes Kate will now be given the space, time and privacy to heal. The Duchess added, "I know she'll be surrounded by the love of her family and everyone is praying for the best outcome." For the very latest, do sign up to GB News Alerts, scan the QR code on your screen or go to gbnews.com/alerts. Now it's time for headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm Josh Howie, taking you through the newspapers of the near future with father-daughter comedy team Cressida Wetton and his daughter Lewis Schaefer. How are you?
That makes Jonathan my brother.
Oh, it's all gotten a little bit incestuous in here, hasn't it?
Well, it makes us hanging out together a little bit exciting, a little spicy.
Can you do a Yorkshire accent?
What now? She's related.
Could I do? I can't even do I can't even do a New York accent anymore. I sound all wonky.
Okay.
No. But I'd love. Can I just say this? I'd love Cressida as my daughter.
That's really lovely to know that.
How about a colleague? Could you respect me as a colleague?
No, I don't think women
Just
belong
before
in the
we get
workplace.
into the show, I want to quickly... Have you got my mug? OK, right, let's have a quick gander at Tuesday's front pages. The Daily Mail. Fury at feeble rebuke to China. Telegraph. Secret court for speeding and TV fines must end. Guardian. Israel isolated after UN Security Council. Financial Times. Boeing chief Calhoun to step down in shake-up after door panel safety crisis. The Eye. UK cabinet clash on how to fight China spy threat. And the Daily Star. Vampires and zombies do walk among us. Those are your front pages. Cressida, what have The Guardian gone with? And am I going to get angry?
Well, we could do the other stories, but the main story is Israel isolated after UN Security Council demands Gaza ceasefire. They voted. 14 other council members have all said we want a ceasefire. America's just said nothing. Yeah. And that's where we are. The text is a bit confusing. It demands an immediate ceasefire for the month of Ramadan, leading to a sustainable ceasefire. But it also says it's not dependent on the hostages being returned.
So it's OK for Israel to be attacked on Sukkot, which is when October 7th was, but then because of its Muslims, we have to stop for Ramadan, getting back hostages.
And meanwhile, it's calm down, Josh.
OK, sorry.
Calm down. And meanwhile, it's Passover. Never before in the history of the world has everyone hated the Jews. Today.
I feel like we've been here before.
Been hated? No, we haven't. Every single country has hated the Jews. And even the country that normally hates the Jews can't even... look at Saudi Arabia and Egypt. I mean, they probably don't hate the Jews.
No,
but
Saudi Arabia we're very close to being buddies. That's arguably why this attack was launched, because Iran was scared about Saudi Arabia and Israel making peace.
But they don't have the strength to say, listen, we want Israel as our friend, and neither does Egypt. But they don't have the strength to let the Palestinians go through their border or even attack Israel if Israel is doing so badly.
Well, this is the thing. There's questions as to whether this is binding at all. David Cameron, our Foreign Secretary, put out, I believe, an incredibly cowardly statement where the final points, these are the 4 points. We want Hamas gone. Well, how do you think Hamas, a terrorist organisation, are going to go? You can't just ask them nicely.
You're asking for a reason. This is your problem, Josh. And I think I understand where it comes from psychologically. I'm not going to go into it. I know, Josh. I have the same thing where you want fairness. That's the most important thing. You want people like I do. You want people... You don't want hypocrisy. That's the worst thing you can be.
Well, everybody wants that. This is in The Guardian. It's talking about 32,000 Palestinians dead now.
Yeah, which it doesn't quantify where these numbers came from.
Yeah.
Hamas.
Doesn't mention wait. Calm down. Calm down.
Don't say calm down. Say calm down. It's over. Should we do the Garrett?
No.
4 senior judges...
Are you taking over control of the show?
This is coming from the UN, where UN employees took part in October 7th. Travis.
Well, you could vaguely call them you.
Oh, by the way, on a positive note, there is a little advert here for Shazia Mirza, who's a good mate of mine. She's got a tour going on at the moment, and she's very, very funny.
And she's a Muslim, and Josh is friends with a Muslim. So wow.
Thank you so much. That makes everything great. What have the Daily Mail with?
No. Let her do her story.
No, she doesn't want to do that. She was just trying to make peace and move on.
Is that what you were trying to do?
It's all right. We're not going to get angry. No more anger.
You always pick the strangest moments to listen to me. Move on.
I'm always listening to you.
That's not fair, because you don't understand. It takes about 5 minutes to actually get through his cortex, get through all the meat to actually
because I'm thinking. The problem with you, Josh, is... All right.
Wait, let's not do it.
You've got 2 choices. You've got Daily Mail.
All right, OK. Fury at feeble rebuke to China. This is Beijing hacked details of 40 million voters and spied on MPs, but UK's response is care compared to taking a wooden spoon to a gunfight. Of course it is. It's basically we're not punishing China. We can't punish China. We're tiny little island. Britain
But
is.
if we were Jason Bourne, we could use that wooden spoon.
Can I finish my thought, please?
Sorry.
Can I finish?
A joke about wooden spoon.
It doesn't matter. You're not supposed to be
right.
funny.
I apologise.
Okay.
I apologise.
Oh,
Talk about the elephant giving birth to a mouse.
Yeah, that's
a pretty
unexpected.
special.
I'm just saying there are a lot of good metaphors coming
There's a lot of
There
metaphors.
could be. Wait for the end. And just,
I want to see that Disney movie.
And then you just say it. Oh my God, I wasn't expecting for you.
Mate, finish the story.
I wasn't expecting for you.
I'm going to behave myself. Go.
Yeah, you're behaving yourself. It's my job to be misbehaved. It's your job as the host to be the voice of reason.
Okay.
The point is, Britain is just a small island off the coast of America. It has no power anymore to do anything to China. It can't very well say to China, we're not going to trade with you. It would put the country into a super recession. So they have limited options. And I don't know if any of this is true anyway.
Well, Cresta, I mean, what they've done, which is basically they've sort of put two people there. So they've said to two people who work for the hackers, oh, you guys are really bad. That's about it. They haven't done anything.
For them. It says the Foreign Office is going to summon the Chinese ambassador to explain what happened. This is like when I go out gigging and people come up to me and ask me to explain Lewis's behaviour. I can't be responsible for that. You know,
Why not?
There's an interesting thing, though, also, Cresta, about the timing here. Some people are saying that it's because we have an election coming up. We want to make sure that we have secure electoral facilities, if that's a phrase that's used. Or the other thing is that there seem to be a lot of Tory MPs going, I hate China more, to prove their leadership values.
Well, this is because Rishi's not killing it, is he? Sorry, Rishi, same old thing. The Prime Minister of the UK, Rishi Sunak, has said that the UK would take measures, and that just makes your heart sink, doesn't it? Oh, Rishi's measures again.
Or maybe the British government is going, look, China, and not to pay attention to the fact that there are millions of migrants coming into the country and that the world is coming to an end. It's like a subterfuge.
And also, the Lib Dems weirdly made I haven't thought about them for a while, and they made a really good point, which is, why is David Cameron releasing this information in the 1922 committee? Why is he not releasing this and talking about this in Parliament, so he can be questioned and they can actually find out about what the response should be? Yeah. Right, moving on to the Telegraph, Cressida.
Secret court for speeding and TV fines must end. So apparently, you're going to love this because it's about opening up and discussing things publicly.
So true.
There's ministers are facing demands to have people being prosecuted for speeding, TV licence, those kind of offences, and truancy, which is a crime. They can no longer be held behind closed doors. This is what's being pushed for. Because apparently up to now they have been, and sometimes people are very vulnerable, the kind of people that fall into these offences. Apparently it's all women with the TV licence stuff, because they're the ones at home. So people are saying it's not fair.
And women don't like to pay for stuff.
Well,
I was allowed to introduce. I could interrupt that one for that
I'm
joke.
trying to push back, but you know,
but you owe me lunch. Yeah.
I don't know you lunch. Anyway, the point is, vulnerable people. It gives the example. I shouldn't laugh. A 78-year-old with dementia fined for not having car insurance when she was in a care home. And the point is, this stuff gets waved through by one magistrate. It all gets decided undercover.
Yeah.
But if they do try and make this a bigger process, it's just going to have a backlog and costs. And you know, maybe it's just as well one person's waving.
Well, I think the idea is to have some accountability here, because the whole point of this court was set up was because we just have we have this huge backlog. There are some simple cases here that can be dealt with in the time frame of 90 seconds, which seems a bit crazy.
Judge Judy.
But if we have some journalists there, they might do their job and not be reporting on the royal family.
But it's a lie. It's a lie. First of all, the number of journalists have plummeting. Journalists don't report everything. And journalists lie. You can tell from these newspapers that we're reading. They're just a bunch of liars. And what this country needs, this is a great country. It's a very, very good country. But the lack of openness is the worst thing about this country.
Well, hopefully they're gonna rectify that in this case. Anyway, let's finish this section with the Star, Lewis.
The Star. Oh, good news with the Star. The Star is vampire zombies do walk amongst us. This is a story that we covered the other day. It says that that for their very valid reasons why why vampires do bad things. It's just a way to...
Basically, it's a real psychological condition. I don't want to interrupt you, but you just weren't explaining it that well, and we have to go to break very quickly.
Well, why do you ask me then? Why am I here?
Well, that's just the format of the show.
Yes, you can have a psychological condition that compel you to...
a physical, like I do, because I think blood... And I'm going to tell you something. I don't drink human blood, but It looks delicious.
You heard it here first, everybody. Lewis does not eat human blood.
I don't drink it.
Don't drink. Oh, sorry, I apologise.
I may make blood pudding out of it.
Right, that's the front pages plundered. Coming up, we go behind the fold for the gold of ISIS telling Putin what's what and the end of COVID. See you there.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
This is Louis Walsh, and if you're watching this year's series of Celebrity Big Brother, you will know what Louis Walsh has been talking about. It is the fact that he's been diagnosed, or he's had a battle with a rare blood cancer, and nobody knew anything about it. Joanna?
Yeah, I mean, we all kind of remember Louis, don't we, from X Factor, and he's a very much loved character. Louis always used to be the one that would kind of take all the kooky acts and all the quirky ones. Obviously, it's incredibly brave for him to actually share something so private about this diagnosis that he had. But also, you know, when things like this happen with people who are public figures, it also brings a lot of awareness, and a lot of people have been watching Big Brother. We're obviously talking about it now, and this is the type of blood cancer that I'd never heard about.
I mean, it is incredible, isn't it, really, what it would do to raise awareness for people?
For sure, and I think it's really important because I think quite often people watch these programmes and it can be a little bit silly and arguments and stuff, but actually when someone that's got a lot of media attention like Louis Walsh talks about this, a lot of people start to think, you know, cancer research do a lot of good work. I'm not shocked that he's doing that. He's a very Marmite figure, you know. You know, a lot of us have seen what Jedward have been saying about Louis Walsh behind the scenes. You know, he's a very kind of, a lot of people say he's quite a nasty figure. You know, he's been in the show business a long time. He knows how to get certain people to do certain things, and I think he's great for the programme though, because you know that's what we want, right? We want reality TV to be exactly how it is, you know.
That's actually one thing that I thought in terms of casting for Celebrity Big Brother, they did a really good job getting Sharon and Louis in there. We're getting all the Hollywood gossip, you know, who they like, who they don't like, and I think that's been great.
That was good,
Yeah. Is he a colourful character?
Colourful, yes.
That's how you...
But when you said he's like Marmite, you've got to think, you can put a bit of Marmite in your bolognese and it tastes good.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
Affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Josh Howie, joined by the HR class action lawsuit combo of Cressida Wetton and Lewis Schaefer.
Never touched him.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not pressing charges on her.
That's very kind of you. On to the Express. Lewis, it seems like Putin's obsession with Reservoir Dogs might have backfired.
Yeah, I was going to look up what that meant, but I guess it has to do with revenge,
Stuck
right?
in the middle with you. Come on, the famous scene cutting off the ear.
I haven't watched it.
No.
Don't want to watch it.
Yeah, what does
I do
Cressida
know
say?
What it refers to. They've been extremely violent and brutal.
It's just about violence. Well, yeah, because they cut the guy's ear. Basically, it says ISIS still says it will take revenge on Putin very soon after Moscow suspects, torture. They maybe cut off the ear of one of the guys. And this is really wrong of Moscow because it's going to make ISIS angry. And you don't want to make them angry. There's no reason to make them angry. They've been good friends forever. Who knows what's going to happen if you make ISIS angry. They're lovely, lovely people who are not prone to anger. And
Well, doesn't this show the difference between the UK and Russia? Because this would not play out well in the UK, would it? We're very...
What, you mean police actually doing their job? Capturing them?
Pretty much, yeah.
And cutting their ear off.
I've never said toxic masculinity before, but I think I've seen some from Russia in the last 24 hours. It's, I mean, I'm stating the obvious, but we would have an absolute fit, wouldn't we, if we thought...
So you're saying that's toxic to cut off one guy's ear, but killing 140 innocent people in a movie theatre isn't toxic.
Well, we've got this kind of rule, haven't we, in our way, the West's way of doing things, where we capture people that have done bad things and we hold them, but we don't do it back to them.
And how has that worked out for us?
It's a fair
well,
point,
it's an interesting one here because the Express says that they've been unable to verify the reports. If anybody's watching from the Express, I would just like to say that there's this new website or social media platform called X, or formerly Twitter, that maybe check it out. You might see some videos on there that might help you out here. It is slightly ridiculous, though, isn't it, Cresta, that it's also like ISIS try to say, like, the brutal torture, like somehow they're kind of like a human rights organisation. Slightly hypocritical, possibly.
100%. It just makes me I have to laugh because it makes me despair. It just goes... I mean, it's
have
never
you
going
lost
to
all
end.
respect for ISIS?
Yeah.
It's horrible. I don't like it.
It's horrible. And also, of course, you have Putin desperately trying to blame Ukraine and just the conspiracy
we were arguing
theories.
about this earlier. I do think it's strange that they've captured 4 members of ISIS who are... Their trademark is not being there at the end of the job.
Yeah, but they didn't use explosives, so...
Well, yeah, but that's their thing, isn't it?
I don't know.
Seems very strange to me. If I thought I was going to be captured by Mr. Putin, I think I might wear a special belt.
Nice. Cresta, The Telegraph has a story about an MSP. Hey, you know me. What... Sorry, the reason why this is so confusing is, what are they saying they said about they? This is what happens when you talk about non-binary stuff. It all goes out the window.
Oh, I see. Very good. I thought you'd just lost the plot there, but it was a plot. Tory MSP to sue police for recording tweet about non-binary people as hate incident. So the tweet said, choosing to identify as non-binary is as valid as choosing to identify as a cat. I'm not sure governments should be spending time on action plans for either. Very unpopular with certain groups. Anyway, this guy, Murdo Fraser, who was reported... So somebody reported this tweet as a hate crime. That's what they were hoping for. Didn't get hate crime status, but they did get a non-crime hate incident, which isn't the same thing. So it didn't meet the threshold of being a crime. But this is recorded against his name without his knowledge, and he's only found out later when somebody else has complained again. So, it's not on. And, of course, on the 1st of April, we're going to have this new legislation brought in where it will no longer need to be... it won't have to meet the old criteria for being a crime.
Not we.
Oh, well, very good point. Yeah, Scotland. It will now be about the perceived hate.
Are they going to retroactively?
Well, it's not the point, is it? Because currently there's 5,500 of these non-crime hate incidents.
Yeah.
I guess that's per year. So the point is that on April the 1st, if people carry on like this, the police are going to have an awful lot of work.
Well, they're also going to be able to take it further. They're going to have the legislation to be able to do that. Guidance is different, isn't it, Lewis, between the England and Wales and Scotland, in that the guidance in the UK now is to not record these incidents and actually officially mark them down now because of what happened. There was an incident in 2021 where they got sued, the police, and that's why it changed. Although for a while now, the police were still carrying this stuff out. But Scotland never implemented it, so this is what they do. If anybody's offended and they report you, your name goes down on a file.
Yeah, and he's getting help from who are they getting help from?
Free Speech Union.
Free Speech Union. And I've actually...
Don't mind me interrupting you then, do you?
No, well, yeah, because I asked for your help. I paid £29 for a membership, and I think it's well worth it, Free Speech Union. At the same time, I lied. I said I wasn't working to get the super discount rate.
Lewis.
This isn't work, Lewis. Come on.
Oh, my
It is, but this isn't, I guess it's not work, but any kind of, right, you're right, any kind of work.
So to defend the Scottish police, they're saying that this is very useful for them to collate all this information because it provides them with intelligence on community tensions.
Yeah.
So that's the justification.
Interestingly, so there's a lot of tension between the NSPs and they, them, people, non-binary.
And I like, as I've said every single show, it's called Police Scotland, which is basically an imperative, a hope that Scotland will do their job, which is please police Scotland.
It's intent rather than reality.
Yeah.
Right. Thursday's Mail has a story for you, Lewis, about the end of an era that you don't even believe happened.
Well, that's actually true. I believe the era happened, but it wasn't. Now it's really the end of the COVID era. Routine lateral flows, I guess, tests for patients being discharged from hospitals into care homes will be axed next week because I think they've thought, you know what, we've killed enough of them. We don't need to be worried about anybody die. Maybe we haven't killed enough. We want more people to die. I don't believe that it kills anyway. I think it's the flu. The flu does kill. The flu does kill. And they're saying, don't worry about COVID. But the fact is, they're still giving out vaccines. They're still trying to get people to take COVID vaccines. Am I right? Nobody's taken them, but they're still trying to do it. The fact is everybody knows. I can't talk about this because I get too angry. They're murderers. What they did during the COVID thing was murder people by putting them in nursing homes.
Yeah, so I get all in trouble from you when I talk about Hamas like this, but when it's your turn, you're allowed to just sort of go off willy-nilly.
I'll tell you what does kill people.
Yes, because you're supposed to know better, Josh. He's totally...
You are such a hypocrite.
They love him here. I'm not a hypocrite.
He wants to hear from me.
No, I want to hear Cresta's point.
Come on, Lewis. Seen and not heard. Maybe not seen. Experts have warned that axing the policy could have serious consequences. Yes, it could for the manufacturers of these tests.
Yes.
And what I think is really awful about all the spending that's gone into these tests, whether they work or not, and I personally am more interested in people's symptoms than what their test says. It's cost the NHS all this money that could have been going to, you know, asthma inhalers or cancer screenings or whatever.
And I was at the NHS today, and they do a great job for certain
whether you believe COVID
things.
exists or not, the fact is there's a virus out there. It kills particularly the elderly. So sending elderly people back to their care homes, this is what killed a huge amount of them.
Reliable, so why not look at the symptoms?
Well, they're more reliable than no tests at all. Because there's asymptomatic.
Well, I'm not. That's where I get into his territory a bit. I don't know, but we do know that, you know, if they've. I wouldn't send an ill elderly person to an elderly person.
Yeah, but not everybody presents as... People can have the virus and still pass it on to other people who then would die from it. So it seems to me like there is a risk here. I think it's a minimal cost here to sending these people back to, to homes to make sure that they're safe, whether they're tested for flu or any kind of virus.
I question what you say.
Aren't reliable enough to... I wouldn't be happy...
They are. Then they're not reliable because there's no... I'm going to say this, and I've said it every single time. There's probably, I'm 95% sure, no such thing as a virus. And viruses do not kill, and vaccines cannot work on something that does not exist.
I personally believe that this is dangerous. There's a minimum amount of money.
And just say most doctors do. That's your job, Josh, is to say most doctors believe there's a consensus that virus...
Well, you know what? Saying that, most doctors have obviously passed off on this because this is what they're doing. They're going to send these people back to the homes. I think that was the great tragedy during that whole era, apart from lockdowns and whatnot, which I disagree with. But the point is, sending that if they had done this actual ring of protection, which they talked about and didn't actually do, then there were a lot of people who would... Well, actually, they wouldn't be alive still, probably.
No, if they had stayed in the hospital,
they would have lived longer.
They probably would have been dead anyway.
All right,
because more people died in the hospital from being intubated.
Quite a serious story now in Tuesday's Guardian. So maybe it's better that we go to Cressida.
Nottingham attacks. Ministers urged to consider new homicide category. So, killer Valdo Calacane was convicted of killing 3 people in Nottingham, but he wasn't convicted of murder. He was convicted of he had diminished responsibility because of his paranoid schizophrenia, basically. So he's now serving a hospital order, which is different to prison. You go to a different building, and the families of the deceased are not happy about this. So there's this idea that we should have 2 classifications of murder, first degree and second degree, like what they do in America.
At the moment we have 2.
Yes.
So they're saying we should implement
the American method.
To 3 tiers.
Right.
But the thing is, what's behind this story is also that the family just didn't have a very good experience with the authorities. So that's
a slightly different issue. I would say the story is sort of about because they complain and the CPS were found to have acted in accordance with the law. But that doesn't necessarily mean that justice was served, Lewis.
Right. I think, as a person who's involved in a criminal incident, unless the full punishment of law is meted out on this guy, the families are going to be unhappy. But this seems like it's a bit like a nothing.
Well, no, because the point is the law didn't exist to be able to meter out justice.
Let me restate that correctly. Unless the guy is completely punished and put to death and then fries in hell, the families are not going to be happy.
Well, they're not going to be happy, and I think that's reasonable. There's two things going on here.
Yeah.
But look, there's nothing wrong with... We want the law to be precise, that's fair.
Yes. But also, you mentioned that
how unrealistic ideas of what was going to happen.
Well, it was already recommended in 2006 that they have this third tier, and it was rejected by Parliament. Possibly they made a mistake. Certainly in this case, I think going to a hospital is ridiculous for murdering 3 people. Right, we're at the halfway point with some cultural madness coming your way. Ads for Channel Migrants, Trans Darts, and BBC Women's Hour porn backlash. See you in 2.
This is your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. Good evening to you. The rest of this week, well, be prepared for further heavy downpours and temperatures staying around about or a little bit below average. Low pressure is well and truly in control of our weather and will be for the rest of this week. These weather fronts have been making for a pretty soggy day for much of the UK. The rain across Scotland, falling as snow over the hills, that continues in the east through the night. Elsewhere, it does turn a little bit drier. Staying fairly cloudy and staying fairly chilly. Temperatures down into single figures, not far off freezing in northern Scotland, and some more wintry showers coming into the northern and the Western Isles as we go into Tuesday. Still a bit more snow over the Grampians, although that should ease. Further showers, though, to come on the east coast of Scotland. Central and southern Scotland looking a little bit drier compared to today. It'll be a wetter day, though, for the southeast as that rain moves in through Tuesday and that spreads into the Midlands, and rain again for Northern Ireland. But something a bit brighter in the southwest and South Wales, and for eastern England too, some glimmers of sunshine. But it is going to feel pretty chilly, particularly across Scotland, where the rain and hill snow continues into Wednesday. And then elsewhere, it's bands of showers moving in. Be prepared for some heavy downpours on Wednesday. There will be some brighter spells between the heavy showers, a bit of sunshine. We'll see temperatures up to double digits, but generally feeling cooler in the breeze, and plenty more of those heavy showers to come in the run-up to Easter.
2024, a battleground year.
The year the nation decides.
As the parties gear up their campaigns for the next general election.
Who will be left standing when the British people make one of the biggest decisions of their lives?
Who will rise?
And who will fall?
Let's find out together.
For every moment, the highs, the lows, the twists and turns.
We'll be with you for every step of this journey.
In 2024, GB News is Britain's election channel.
I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Gloria Di Piero, bringing you
PMQ's live here on GB News.
Whenever Parliament is in session on a Wednesday at midday, we'll bring you live coverage of Prime Minister's questions. We'll be asking our viewers and listeners to submit the questions that they would like to put to the Prime Minister, and we'll put that to our panel of top politicians in our Westminster studio.
That's PMQ's live here on GB News, Britain's election channel.
GB News is the home of free speech. We were created to champion it, and we deliver it day in, day out.
Free speech allows us all to explore and debate openly the issues most important to us, our families, and of course, the British people.
Having challenging conversations to enlighten each other.
Which is why we hear all sides of the argument.
We are the People's Channel.
We will always stand by the freedom to express yourself.
On TV, radio and online.
This is GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Lewis, just brush your teeth. Welcome back to Headliners, and kicking off with Tuesday's Telegraph, Lewis, and you'll be happy to hear it's not all about Muslims.
No, it isn't all about Muslims, except this is another story. Josh, would you calm down about the Muslims? Anyway, this is some Muslim lady who went to a tribunal to complain that the hospital she worked at fired her because, maybe didn't fire.
She's saying bullying.
She was complaining.
She's saying that
complaining because they made her roll up her sleeves, and she's a Muslim lady, and they were being nasty to her because she was a Muslim.
Religious discrimination.
Religious discrimination, and the tribunal judge says no. It's not because of religion. It's because there got to be some rules and whatever. And the truth is, I think, and you know me, I think people should be respected. Their religion should be respected. I think the perfect solution is to follow the Islamic principles and to not let women work.
OK.
You can't fault the logic. It turns out what he was trying to say was doctors, apparently, I didn't know this, have to have their arms bare up to the elbow so they can wash their hands thoroughly. That's the problem.
All the way up,
and
up
this
the wrists.
woman, she thought she was out of the designated zone. She wasn't. But it turns out, apparently, the NHS have disposable sleeves for just this occasion.
Who knew?
So she could have had a pair of whatever they are, disposable sleeves, but she didn't. It was a misunderstanding. It all kicked off, and I think she just jumped very quickly to assuming it was about her religion.
But they're not fashionable. They're not fashionable, those sleeves.
Oh, really?
Those
You're
sleeves,
aware
yeah.
of them, are you?
Yeah, did you want to read it? No, I'm not aware
Look
of
at
them.
Lewis Schaefer coming up with all the behind-the-scenes...
Well, apparently this was after her fingernails had been criticised as well, so...
She had too long.
Another element to it here, right.
Yeah.
The British Tourist Board has a unique ad campaign, Cresta, in the Mail. The UK sucks.
Yes, life will be hard. Online ads target would-be channel migrants, warning UK immigration rules are tougher than you think. Saying that, sat next to you, you managed to get in. So, yeah, apparently there's this new strategy to deter channel migrants by creating social media videos telling them how...
Of Hull on a Saturday night?
Well, yeah, pretty much, telling them how difficult it is to get work, because people think they're going to arrive and just get a job. Not that easy, especially without papers. How scary the crossing is, you know, because people are told that the boats are going to be much nicer than they are, and then they find out it's just a horrible dinghy. About the laws that will make it difficult for them to stay, and the risks, and so on and so on.
So the government's lying, basically.
Well, you say that, but it's a good lie, because apparently in 2022 there were nearly 13,000 Albanians coming illegally. They did one of these videos, and I'm not trying to say Albanians are naive or anything like that, but they obviously believed it, because the next year there were just 924. It dropped by 90.
Yeah, but they did.
I don't think it was the video necessarily that's been proven to have caused that as much as the two governments working together and the UK being able to send people straight back to Albania, at least them knowing that.
So we need a proper deterrent.
Well,
A proper deterrent.
What's interesting for me, Lewis, and why are they targeting Vietnam, which is only 5% of these numbers, only 1,000 people, as opposed to Iran, Turkey, Iraq? Those are all about 10% each. Why are they going Vietnam first, do you think?
We know why. We know why.
You tell me why.
I'll tell you why. Because we don't want to say it. Because people are afraid. In this country, there's no openness, and they're afraid to actually talk about what the real story is. The story is we're letting in people who hate this country and who want to kill the people in the country. Their religion does. And the truth is that Vietnam, I know Vietnamese. I had a Vietnamese girlfriend when I was younger. Well, I wanted her to be my girlfriend. She never became my girlfriend. But I was a friend.
She served you coffee once.
No, she was a woman. She was a woman.
I want to hear about your fancies.
No, she was an actual person.
Gone off.
I was just so in love with this girl. She was so beautiful.
Pure.
They should let any Vietnamese person they want to come into this.
In the hope that your ex will come over. That's what you're hoping.
I wasn't thinking that, but maybe somebody else, age appropriate.
Wow, I really feel like we've not covered this story very well.
We have covered it. The fact is, you're right, that they're focusing on Vietnam, which has lovely people, and they don't want to focus on these other countries, I don't want to mention what they are, that have people who want us dead.
Some of the people want us dead. Only some, come on, quantify it a bit.
Most of them. Some of it. All right, some of it.
Lewis, some Guardian readers were polled for a Guardian story.
Yeah, this is interesting, Josh. And 6 in 10 UK polled say descendants of enslaved people owed formal apology. And this is a poll in The Guardian. And you're right to point this out. It doesn't say, it's in The Guardian, but it doesn't say how the poll was produced, who produced the poll, where did the people come from. It could very well just be, maybe they got the mailing list of Guardian people who said, and they say 56% say an apology for slavery should come from the British government for the way we treated the the Caribbean people who were enslaved. But then again, you have to remember that half of all Nigerians are descendants of slave capturers and slave sellers. Am I allowed to say that?
People.
Is that
the point is, you don't know somebody's history just by looking at the colour of their skin. And on top of that, it doesn't make sense anyway. It's just I hate these stories. There's slavery happening now. Like, instead of looking back.
So
because really, an apology means we're getting towards money. That's what we're talking about.
Well, this is the interesting thing is, yes, Dennis O'Brien, sorry to interrupt, I just want to say that. He's the guy, he immediately goes for, he says, oh, this is great, people want an apology, let's start talking about reparatory justice. Like, they're two very different things.
One of the cab drivers that took me home the other day is from Iraq, and he was talking about this, and he said in his country, he said there's slaves now, and he was getting really passionate about this and saying, you have no idea what racism is. He said they use the N-word and they think that's appropriate. And sorry to Iraq, I mean, I'm sure there's some lovely people there as well. But the point he was making was, he said, why aren't we talking about the slavery that's happening in the world today, now?
And can I add something? I still haven't gotten reparations for my family's enslavement in Egypt about 4,000 years ago.
Yes, well, that's, I'm still waiting that myself.
Yeah.
Lewis, well done.
Did that throw you for a loop, Josh?
It did a little bit there, yeah, because that was one of my jokes. Trans darts news next, Cressida, in the Mail, or as I call it, bullseye. Bulls.
Oh,
we get it, Josh.
Fury as trans darts star Noah Lynn van Leuven. Lewis tells me I'm saying that wrong.
I don't know.
So this trans woman wins titles against men and women in the same week. Player reveals she suffered online abuse following victories as two female Dutch teammates quit in protest over her inclusion. So, I mean, it makes me laugh because this person is competing in both teams, which doesn't seem very sportswomanly in the first place. And, you know, so the two women have quit, fair enough. I mean, this is the first time we've talked about darts, I think, isn't it? We've often talked about football, and injuries and bigger fists and all of that stuff that's relevant.
Yeah, because it's I mean, men and women's darts is very different. Women's darts, the darts are a little bit lighter, the target's a lot bigger. It's just a big red circle.
Well, I'm very
sexist, Can you hit the wall?
I think there probably are differences in men and women in the way they play darts. I'd be surprised if there were.
Women are much more like...
Josh, it's inappropriate. The fact is, you're right. You're right about that. It just shows that women are not good at anything.
Oh, my
They're not good, and that's why it's embarrassing.
Then it's going to pause and say, except complaining.
Yeah, start complaining. Go to my thing and complain.
There was another study, though, Lewis, today about professional sportswomen in the UK. 70% of them said they did not want to compete against trans women, biological males. They see it as cheating. And I don't know if you saw this other part of it, is that scarier than that is that they didn't feel like they were able to talk about it or complain about it.
Well, that's part of the big discussion people are having today, where they're saying, you know, people are afraid to talk about things. I'm not afraid to talk about it because I'm an idiot.
No, but you're not a female sports person.
No, I'm
and
saying...
I think that's really important. So this is one of the women that left, one of the Dutch women, biological women. She said, if someone doesn't feel good in the body they were born in, I encourage everyone to change that and be happy. I just don't think it's right for a biological man to throw for the women or vice versa. It's either mixed or not. And that's the thing, there's nothing transphobic in that. She's been very supportive of this person's transition, but she's saying you can't have been through male puberty and then come into female.
It is very... No, it is negative, because she's saying, I don't want you to play with me, and I think that affects...
But what she's not saying is, I don't want you to exist or to have human rights.
Yes, you know what bothers me the most, Josh? This is so important. I hate that the idea that she named herself... Noah Lynn. I don't know what her original name was, but that's like such a cool name. I hate my name, Lewis Schaefer. I grew up hating my name, Lewis Schaefer. The fact is that if you change your name, you should have to pick the top name from the date you were born.
What I would do for a dart right now... Lewis, The Telegraph has a story about BBC Women's Hour getting a predominantly male audience.
Yeah. This is the BBC's Woman Hour, and it says faces backlash over porn series. And so they're doing a show all about porn, which I think is all right, but not at 10 o'clock in the morning. Even I'm not up for porn. I usually start around 11.
Well, it's the usual thing, is that they're trying to justify everything, and everything's okay. Camille Parlier, who I like, she says late-phase societies are all kind of, oh, we're so sophisticated, there's nothing bothers us, we can talk about anything, and I just think, come on.
Yeah, but porn exists. It is part of people's reality. I didn't know that women knew what it was. This is interesting.
They shouldn't be talking about this on Women's. They should be talking about, you know, the failures.
Cooking and cleaning.
Yes, I think they should. The failures of feminism, all the, you know, no, you don't want to be a CEO, you want to have a nice life, all of that stuff. But oh no, we have to talk about porn on Women's Hour.
Because they're dying. The BBC is dying. It's not. It's the state propaganda network, and the state doesn't do anything well. They don't pick up the garbage well. They don't run the trains well. It's time for the BBC to be gone.
BBC Radio 4 unfortunately have lost 477,000 listeners. Guess you shouldn't have cancelled my sitcom.
There you go.
Right, just the final section to go, and it's going to be epic. Moon ads, grey hair, and how to stop flatulence. It'll change your life. See you there.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Is the brand of toothpaste super important here, or is it more about the toothbrush? Because I was told a long time ago by my dentist, electric toothbrush, Pip, that is the way to go.
You're exactly right. I mean, the action of mechanically removing plaque, so using a brush, is much more effective than the brand of toothpaste itself. But in terms of the ingredient in toothpaste that we're looking for, it's something called fluoride. And fluoride is essential to help remineralize and strengthen our teeth. It's really important to use a toothpaste with fluoride. And in terms of brushing, using an electric toothbrush is just much easier. You know, you're brushing your teeth first thing in the morning, last thing at night. You're going to be a bit tired in those times. So using an electric toothbrush, you just hold it against your tooth and gum and it does all the work for you. So it's just much easier in my opinion.
But you have to use your electric toothbrush properly.
You're exactly right. Yeah, there is a technique of actually brushing your teeth, although it sounds really simple. With an electric toothbrush, you have to hold it against the tooth and the gum. Ideally, you want a pressure sensor in that toothbrush so you know exactly when you're pressing too hard. But if you're using a manual toothbrush, you need to move it around and small circular motions. But actually what I see is people who use manual toothbrushes, they tend to over scrub and over brush, which can actually lead to gum recession and your enamel thinning long term.
Sometimes I will get up in the morning and I will have breakfast and then I'll brush my teeth. Is that wrong?
Unfortunately, that's wrong. So the best time to brush your teeth is first thing in the morning, as soon as you wake up. If you're brushing after you eat and after breakfast, you're brushing your teeth in that weakened acidic state. So your teeth are actually under attack and they're much more vulnerable.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Give me the cup. Welcome back to Headliners, and let's get straight into Tuesday's Times. Cressida for the ad man and the moon.
Nice. Product placement on Moon offers giant leap for advertising. So there's a rover that's going to go to the moon, and engineers are going to offer brands the chance to test and advertise their products on the moon. So that sounds a bit crazy. You might have something that you want to show off with no gravity. Apparently there's special watches that have done this before. It's not
yes,
not
the
my
Omega
area.
Speedmaster.
Yeah, I've got a watch that could go to the moon. That's a selling point. And you could advertise on there as well, so that's pretty exciting.
That watch went to the moon during 6 faked moon landings.
OK, so the other thing in this story is that they're making a big point already about saying this is going to be a virtuous situation. It's all ESG before we've even started. We're focused on making sure that the resources of the moon are cared for and preserved. And if you're going to advertise a product up there, you've got to look at the Lunar Charter, which says you're going to look after life back on Earth. And
they have the gall to criticise the Star Trek creators' ashes being sent into space. Oh, that was really tacky. But if we have Nike up there, it's going to be really classy. It's pathetic, Lewis, isn't it? Also, they're selling advertising. Is that what it takes nowadays for human endeavour to be pushed to the next level?
No, you know something. When they put the American flag on the moon those 6 times, it was a product placement. They were advertising the United States of America, which is the number one. We are number one.
OK, on to the Telegraph now. Cressida again. Has our restrictive immigration policy finally gone too far?
Monster Joseph Fritzl will never be allowed in Britain, says James Cleverly.
What?
Which just does make me a bit worried, because he's a politician, so does that mean he will be allowed? Anyway, apparently he's been interviewed. He's 88 now, and he said that he would like to come to the UK if he gets out. And this is being interpreted as, what? Joseph Fritzl's coming to the UK? James Cleverly says, no, calm down. He wouldn't be allowed in. He said that anyone who's committed those kind of offences would be refused.
Yeah, but the thing is, here's the thing. The thing is you think about Joseph Fritzl. Hasn't he been punished enough?
No, it's not going there.
Why should he come to Britain?
Well, the thing is, Lewis, do you think that... I mean, he says that he watched a Shakespeare documentary.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise that... I mean, maybe immigration, that's what's driving up immigration, or all these Shakespeare documentaries being shown around the world. I personally think he watched you and saw how well elderly monster was doing. Thought, you know, if that guy could do it...
Do you know what? Free. Should he be punished? He's done one thing wrong. Only one thing.
Come on.
He's like Hitler. He just did one thing wrong. Should he be punished for the rest of his short life?
My God. Lewis, this is a comedy show. This is a comedy show. Ofcom. Express has a very on-the-nose story, though, for you now, Lewis.
Yeah. Appealing to the grey vote, Rishi Sunak faces Prime Minister curse of rapidly greying hair. He's only 43 and his hair went grey. And he's, you know, I think it looks good because women love a man with grey hair because they know he's going to die soon and they're going to get his money. But the truth is, here's the truth about grey hair. A man's hair can go grey almost instantly when he stops colouring it. That's what happened. That's what happened to me. You should Google Louis Schaefer and see me in grey hair, see me in black hair.
But it has become Obama famously went in, beautiful black hair, came out. He was white as well.
It's almost like people in middle age might start to lose pigment in their hair.
Yeah. But Boris Johnson did well because he's got that kind of white hair, so you couldn't necessarily tell the difference.
Right. Well, I suppose people are going to say this is equality, isn't it? Because now they're coming for the men's looks as well. Because I'm sure, like, nobody ever asked, how's Winston Churchill looking? He wasn't a...
Back in the day.
No offence, I know...
Well, he did his job well.
Well, yeah, fine, but... Good point. I don't know. What else is Rishi going to have done? What else...
I mean...
His varicose veins fixed.
Has he got shorter?
I don't know. Has he got shorter?
I don't know. We shouldn't really be judging his...
Well,
I wasn't... Don't say we, white man. I didn't say that about him.
Whatever. I dye my hair. Right, finally, Mel. Cresta is going to blow us away with this one. Sorry.
But it's not funny because they don't know what the story's going to be about.
But when they watch it in reverse, it'll be really funny.
Farts are always fun. Look, the truth about holding in wind and how you can train your body to stop farting. A top dietitian's expert guide on how to beat excessive flatulence. It's a top dietitian. It's not Lewis writing this. It's some woman from Scotland. And she takes you through all the stuff you kind of know about beans. And she says if you're not eating enough fibre, then you've got to start it slowly, get things going. It won't smell as much. But, amazingly, she says red meat causes a really bad smell.
Red meat is the biggest cause of farting, Lewis. And really, we put this story in a very unsubtle way to give a little message to you.
The message, which is, no, it's not true. I don't fart. My breath is horrific. But I don't... listen, if I farted, I would say this is a fart. But no, the point is that carbs, Plant material causes farting because it's non-digestible. Fiber is non-digestible. It has no nutritional value. It's and so that's what happens. That's why when you eat a big bowl of spaghetti, you feel bloated, or plates of rice, or any of that's bread, false. It bloats.
Well, do you know, funny, carbs didn't get a look in here. What? She goes through vegetables, she goes through meat. She talks a lot about dairy. Apparently, some people are affected by that, most aren't.
Yeah.
But she doesn't actually talk about carbs.
Because she's a vegan vegetarian. They're lies. They're just look at how great Louis Schaefer looks from eating meat, 95% meat. Plant-based foods, they rip your kishkas out and they give you cancer.
Did you just make that up?
No, it's totally true.
Yeah, we need more Yiddish.
Is it like a chakra?
They can Google it. They can get back to me at louisschaefer.co.uk.
I thought that this is a important story for people in new relationships. That's the hard thing.
Josh, here's your cup. Here's your cup, Josh.
I've got the mic.
Here's your cup.
5 seconds. Give me the mic.
Here's your cup. Here's your cup.
No.
I was going to give you the other one. Whoa!
This one. I told you which one I wanted, Lewis.
Those cups.
Show us nearly over.
Those cups are available.
Tuesday's
They're available
pages.
at
Daily Mail. Fury at feeble rebuke to China.
That's why I didn't give you that cup.
Fury at rebuke to China. Telegraph. Secret court for speeding and TV fines must end. Guardian. Israel isolated after UN Security Council. Financial Times. Boeing chief Calhoun to step down and shake up after door panel safety crisis. The Eye. UK cabinet clash on how to fight China spy threat. Daily Star. Vampires and zombies do walk among us. That's it for tonight's show. Thank you to Lewis and Cress. The Headliners is back tomorrow at 11 p.m. You're watching at 5 a.m. Stay tuned for breakfast.
They cost a fortune. That's why I didn't give it.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
This is your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. Good evening to you. The rest of this week, well, be prepared for further heavy downpours and temperatures staying around about or a little bit below average. Low pressure is well and truly in control of our weather and will be for the rest of this week. These weather fronts have been making for a pretty soggy day for much of the UK. The rain across Scotland, falling as snow over the hills, that continues in the east through the night. Elsewhere, it does turn a little bit drier, staying fairly cloudy and staying fairly chilly. Temperatures down into single figures, not far off freezing in northern Scotland, and more wintry showers coming into the northern and the western Isles as we go into Tuesday. Still a bit more snow over the Grampians, although that should ease. Further showers, though, to come on the east coast of Scotland. Central and southern Scotland looking a little bit drier compared to today. It'll be a wetter day, though, for the southeast as that rain moves in through Tuesday and that spreads into the Midlands, and rain again for Northern Ireland. But something a bit brighter in the southwest and South Wales, and for eastern England too, some glimmers of sunshine. But it is going to feel pretty chilly, particularly across Scotland, where the rain and hill snow continues into Wednesday, and then elsewhere it's bands of showers moving in. Be prepared for some heavy downpours on Wednesday. There will be some brighter spells between the heavy showers, a bit of sunshine. We'll see temperatures up to double digits, but generally feeling cooler in the breeze, and plenty more of those heavy showers to come in the run-up to Easter.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers.